to share with you household tips for your home from my great grandmother. In my family, we've been using these household tips for generations. They've been passed down from my great grandmother to my grandmother to my mother. They're tried and true, they're old fashioned tips, but they still work today. And you may even use some of them. I hope you do. And if not, I hope you're encouraged to use them. Might make your life just a little bit easier. I was really blessed to know my great grandmother. She was 85 when she passed away, and I was 12 or 13. But she left us with wonderful memories and many lessons from her life. And her girls in 1990, I think it was, they all got together and put together a recipe book with some of their favorites of her recipes and these household tips. So I'm sharing them with you. Ma Horton, as she's known in our family, her wisdom has been handed down, like I said, from her daughters to us. And so we're blessed to be able to use these tips in our own home. Tip number one: use an old toothbrush to clean the crevices of the handles of your knives, where the knife blade attaches to the handle, your can opener down in the hand grinders. Even the electric can openers have those little wheels, that you can clean down in. And your hand grater, if anybody still uses those, I use a hand grater. I use a hand crank can opener because I don't open many cans anyway, but I do use that. But you use a toothbrush, you can use your toothbrush around your kitchen sink, around your bathroom sink, those little grotty areas. I use one down in my drain rack. It has a few hard to reach places. So keep those old toothbrushes. I remember hers was brown. In hindsight, it was probably made out of boar's bristles. I'm not real sure. But I remember she had one on the back of the kitchen sink that she used all the time. Okay, you've cooked something and in the bottom of the pot it's stuck on there. To avoid SOS pads and all of that scrubbing, she taught us to put a couple of tablespoons of baking soda and then fill the pot halfway full with water and then just let it boil. And you just let it boil until the food on the bottom would loosen up and float, and then you could just wash it out like always. uh, your hand grater, if you're grating cheese or carrots or anything like that with your hand grater and food can get stuck in there. Before you do that, put a little, I use olive oil or avocado oil. You could probably use coconut oil, but whatever oil you like to use, just moisten your fingers with it and rub it, or be careful not to cut yourself, but rub it around the inside and then the wrong direction uh, on your grater. Don't go the right way because you'll cut yourself. But if you rub a little oil on there, then your food will just slide. It won't change the flavor. It won't change the texture, and your food won't stick to it. It's easier to clean that way. Number four: if you make a paste of baking soda and vinegar and rub it on your stove, anything that's stuck on there. I just made blackberry jam and I put that on my stove and it just got all that right up. Any stains, anything like that, it's going to come out. If you have burner pans up under your burners for an electric stove or some gas stoves even have those drain pans up under them. Soak them and just coat this vinegar and baking soda mixture on them and let them sit for a little while and it should rinse right off. 10 to 15 minutes unless it's really stubborn. I use it to clean my sinks and the drain holes of my sink. I put it down in there and let it sit, and it takes all the odors away and it's clean. Number five: if you don't use dusting polish, like I don't, dusting is my most hated house chore ever. But when I do dust, and my mother's always telling me I need to dust more often. But anyway, I have these microfiber rags now. My great grandmother used old T-shirts, or it was probably, honestly, in hindsight, it was probably a flour sack, a cotton flour sack. But anyway, she kept a big bar of beeswax. I don't know where she got it. I don't know where it came from, but she had a big bar of beeswax in the pantry that she used to put over her jams and jellies and different things. But she would take that beeswax block and rub it on her dusting rag, and then she would go dust her house. So I like beeswax. I use it for several things: my moisturizer, just different things around the house, and I use it for dusting, and it works really great. To keep your popcorn fresh so that you don't get old maids. That's what we call an unpopped kernel. I guess that's its official name, but that's what we call it, old maids. But to keep it fresh and to prevent those, we keep it in the freezer. You can keep it in a canning jar in the freezer or in a Ziploc bag or plastic freezer container, whatever you like to use to put stuff in the freezer in. So we don't eat a great deal of popcorn. So it's really great way to keep it fresh that when we want it, we have it. Number 7, she had 2 tips for fluffier omelets. I don't know that she called it an omelet, but it was a fantastic breakfast that she made, that my grandmother made. They would put a little cornstarch in their eggs. They'd beat the eggs with a fork, and then they would put a little sprinkling of cornstarch, just a pinch, over the top of the eggs, and then beat that in. My grandmother also taught me to use milk to do that with just a I don't know, not even a teaspoon or maybe a teaspoon and 4 or 5 eggs. After you beat that up, you could do it either way. They didn't have to be worried about GMOs and the cornstarch and things like that we have to be concerned about. However, there are non-GMO cornstarch products. I have one. I very seldom use cornstarch unless I'm making gumbo or something like that. But you can get a non-GMO cornstarch if you want to use the cornstarch to have fluffy omelets. Number 8, and this I use this one a lot because I'm a forgetful cook. Okay, I just am. I'm gonna make cookies, or I'm gonna make a cake, or whatever it is that I'm gonna make that I need softened butter for, and I have forgotten to put the butter out to get it to room temperature, because I keep my refrigerator really cold, and some butter I keep in the freezer because I like for my biscuits and my pie crusts, I like frozen butter. It just produces a better product, a flakier product. But I forget to soften the butter for some of these recipes. So I have a cast iron pot that belonged to my grandmother that I just heated up on low heat, medium heat, however you want to heat it up. You heat it up. You put your sticks of butter down. Now, you don't have to use cast iron. You can use stainless steel or whatever pot you've got. And you just put your butter on a heat-proof surface. I usually put mine on a little shallow plate that I have, and put the pot over the top of that. And it's completely covered, and the warm pot will soften the oil, soften the butter very, very quickly. So you're welcome. That's a good tip. Um, Before you add any oil or butter that you're going to cook with, you're going to fry something, or if you've got butter you're melting to do your eggs or whatever you're using it for, uh, get the pan warm first and then put that in there. It prevents the butter from getting black, burning, the oil from catching on fire, waiting for it to get hot enough or forgetting about it. I don't know where this tip came from, um, but there must have been an experience somewhere that she taught her girls this. I can just imagine that because she had a wood cook stove until the time she died. So I imagine maybe she put something on there and the oil got too hot. I don't know how this came to be, but she taught her girls this, who taught their daughters this, who taught us this. So, um, brown sugar. I make my own brown sugar, and there's a recipe on the farmer's lamp for that. But because we don't use a lot of sugar. So if you do keep brown sugar and it gets hard, take a piece of bread and put it over in the canister with it, and it will keep that soft. It will soften it up if it's already gotten hard, but you can keep one in there to prevent it from getting hard. So there's my 10 tips for your household from my great grandmother to you. Enjoy.